Welcome to the Box to Pass show, where we dive deep into the realms of education and financial literacy. We blend insights on college education, career prospects, and the necessary financials to stay on your path. I'm your host, Dheeraj Naraharisetti, and today I am thrilled to have our co-host, Dr. Gordon Chiu. Dr. Chiu is not just an author, innovator, investor, and scientist, but also a visionary who has completed Wharton's Advanced Management Program and Harvard's Business Analytics Program. He has co-founded a startup Fingra in February 2023, which has won that year's Global Technology Prize in the Harvard's Business School New Venture competition. Let's welcome Dr. Chu. Are you there, Dr. Chu?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, good evening. Dheeraj, I am glad to be on the show.
Great.
Um, every time I hear these titles, I get really freaked out because I'm thinking like, as a fifth and sixth grader, or the parents of fifth and sixth grader,
Uh-huh.
why am I relevant to talk about these topics, right? And um, and
Yeah,
then when I hear you and think about you've only gone through fifth and sixth grade once in your life, right?
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. All right. Except that I went and taught the sixth grade in 2017, as
Uh,
well as high school, all of high school at two different schools, to understand whether or not I should send my kids to public or private school, because I went through public and and then I went through public, private, and then public again. That's actually the sequence. And I just felt that I don't quite remember what it was like. It's kind of like fuzzy. And so that's why I want to teach in there to see what the mindset of teachers were like so I could kind of really understand what a fifth and sixth grader was like, but with some powers of an adult. Okay, so I have that, and then I shared it on Inventing Happiness. So that might be a better title of why it makes me potentially better to discuss this topic around all the other podcasts that you've interviewed me on for Box to Path, right? And oftentimes I said, when am I going to say this? Sometime in the future, and the future is now, is that I don't know about you guys, but asking me about medical school and setting up, how does that help a fifth and sixth grader with their life? It's so far away, right? And how old are you now, Diraj?
I'm 18.
So you're 6 years away from 12 years old, 7 years from 11. And so that's a long time
It
since
is.
it's 7 years ago. And, you know, as a sixth grader and fifth grader, you're just thinking right now, today, you know, so is in mid August. So it's August 18th. It's not a live show. We'll try to make it as live as possible, but it's not a live show. So by the time you upload this, it will
Yeah.
not be the 18th, which is fine. I think that as we build up this listener base, whoever ends up being the listeners and followers of this, I want it to be authentic. There's nothing more important than it to be authentic, that we share our feelings and our views of what's really going on. But anybody podcasting to a fifth and sixth grader needs to really understand that as a fifth and sixth grader, there are some really major topics that we should talk about, not how to set up medical school. You had wanted to tonight to talk something about AI, right?
Yeah. Originally I thought of talking about how AI is going to affect the world, industries, and what we can do to kind of not fall behind and
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about it that you put in perspective. I think it's way too far-fetched for something sixth or fifth graders should be listening to.
Yeah, but I'm glad you I I really dislike shooting them down because I don't I like you. That's why we're doing these things together and we're building this. Um, Otherwise I wouldn't be working with you. But at the same time, right? I think that if we don't think about what a fifth and sixth grader is afraid of the most, which is not AI or medical school, but they're afraid what kind of teacher are they getting? Actually, also, who's going to be in the classroom with them? Are they
Exactly.
going to be in this fifth grade, sixth grade class? Who am I sitting next to?
Will their
What am I
bully
going to eat for lunch?
Yeah.
you know? Um, yeah, what are we gonna eat for lunch today and tomorrow and yeah, and as I get through fifth grade or sixth grade, what's middle school going to be like and what's high school going to be like and yeah, I mean, if you take the 8 years that you're 7, 6, 8 years away from the point of contact, and you start looking at life. I mean, I am 7 years away from when I was a high school teacher and a sixth grade teacher. That was 2017. But I was going through it as a mindset of a parent that was concerned about where I should send my kids to school, right? So, and then I gave that TED talk. So, inventing happiness on TEDx was really me being an undercover parent. So I knew what I was doing because I was constantly reminding myself about I need to take down these notes. When you're going through it, you don't take down notes. There are no notes. Um, where you sit, um, if I don't play a prank on the teacher, then maybe I'm not going to fit in. But if I play the prank on the teacher, um, then what if I get in trouble? Right. So constantly there is peer pressures. There is potential magic potion dilemmas. What's that, right? That's where kids always are daring each other to do something, and and we won't call it substance abuse because that's an adult word, but magic
Yeah.
potions, right? I saw magic potions in the private schools that I taught at.
Really?
Definitely magic potions. Of course there are. It's all
Yeah.
kinds, right? From
Yeah.
and there's also smelling magic potions like glue and other things. Um, but then not hopefully not every day, but you also run into the bullying and harassment of maybe you don't like rather than who you sit next to, what kind of clothes are you going to wear? See, at a private like parochial school,
Hmm.
that's where you have a uniform. And like I mentioned, I went from public to private, back to public. And during my private years in a parochial school, there was no worries about clothing because everyone wore the same. What a brilliant idea,
Yeah.
right?
Take
Now that you're looking back, I mean, because choosing your clothing to then be viewed by other students and other peers, isn't that a hard thing,
that is a pretty hard thing.
right? Did you go to any parochial school or you just went public all the way through?
Look all the way through.
Okay, so do you remember that having to wear clothing? You
Yeah,
must remember because you do wear clothing. Imagine if you didn't wear any clothing, right?
that would
To
be bad.
school. Yeah, that would be another problem, right? So anything that sets one kid off, somebody off, and they start, circulating new terms, almost like inventing English on the way, you could become the target, right?
Good, yeah.
Right? A target of laughter, finger pointing, um, and it's almost like scarlet letters. You're going to be tarred and feathered, right? Because you're the witch. So, yeah, that's what happens in fifth and sixth grade. Do you remember that?
No, yeah, remember that. Anyone off, not really that doesn't fit in was bullied. And well, I grew up in a very Asian community. So,
They don't bully people, right?
no,
Asians don't bully people. Is that true?
uh, it depends, but like my point was that like there wasn't as much discrimination as in other counties where there's less Asians. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're lucky. I think that Asians bully Asians, and Asians just bully in general. I mean, I think that any fifth and sixth grader
Yeah.
has bullies. Um,
Yeah.
and you're fortunate to have escaped that. Were you ever bullied at all?
Kind of was, yeah.
Hmm. Not worth mentioning. We don't want to highlight the host of a show, right? Because we could do no wrong. But yes, I was afraid of being bullied.
Were you bullied,
Of
Dr.
um, of course. I did everything. Like I must have spent like 80% of my energy every day going to school to prevent myself from being bullied.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I befriended people that after I finished that year and the year afterwards, we weren't we weren't really friends, but by me being entertaining though, um I could um I could escape the path of being bullied. Like you have to find your formula that works. That is both a balance of being a good student, so you don't get picked on, versus just being entertaining to your classmates and peers, right? And entertaining to the bully too. I don't need to know who the bully is or who's going to turn a bully or who might bully. I just need to be entertaining, and that was my method. Um, which got me in trouble because sometimes because the entertainment was not as favored by some teachers as others, and entertainment involves many topics, just like podcasting involves many topics, and some topics are not good topics for teachers. So um, yeah, in every class. See, the problem isn't just one class in fifth grade or sixth grade. There's homeroom, right? And then there are individual classes, and then there's homework where you come home and you gotta do stuff. And
Yeah.
then and then oh, if you're not a person that socializes with people and you pull your votes after school, so you have some friendships, how are you supposed to get through that whole year? That's a long time. You could turn into roadkill,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. And then there's gym. I mean, Asians in gym. Where's Bruce Lee? See, we have Bruce Lee, and then we have the mile, and we're not Bruce Lee. Far from it, right? So you see, there's that disconnect, right? And then so the bullying, avoiding the bullying, and then and then what happens if you didn't avoid bullying and you become harassed? That's I
Messes
think
with.
that right. That's like that's like the worst part about fifth and sixth grade is it's already August 18th. It's about to start all over again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Summer's almost over. Mhm.
Yeah. Let the games begin. Right. Okay. Then you have dangerous behaviors, the dares that go too far.
Yeah.
Each
Drugs.
one of these deserves its own podcast, right? But have you ever been dared by people?
Yeah, I have.
You
I'm trying.
have. Wow. So see, in such a lovely high Asian population, right? They dare you. I mean, it's amazing that this act continues to be maintained throughout fifth and sixth grade.
For example, back when I was in sixth grade, right? Someone dared. I wasn't the victim. I was a victim, but I wasn't the person doing the dare. So someone dared somebody I knew to put a pocket knife in my pocket so that when I came to school the next day, I would be going around with a pocket knife. And he did it. Shocking thing, he did it. And I was putting on my jacket, didn't notice a thing, and then at the very last moment, just before I was about to board the bus, then I noticed a knife, and I just turned back.
Wow.
Yeah,
So that must have affected you that someone would do that to you. Did you ever find out who it was?
yeah, it was one of my friends. Yeah, still know him today. Yeah,
Oh, so he admitted to it?
yeah, he admitted to it.
And did he feel bad?
I mean, he asked back for his knife, so
Oh, okay. Well, see, school must be pretty boring that somehow, right? Somehow we the inmates, we'll call them inmates, right? Anybody going in there will certainly start thinking of things like this to eliminate some people in there. I
yeah,
had a case where as a coach, um, I learned that I wasn't directly involved, but I learned that the kid um, they did a prank on him or dared another kid to pull a prank that the kid was to admit that his friend was going to commit suicide, and they
Hmm.
were highly unstable, and they might take other people with them in the suicide.
I see.
Yeah, and that got the police involved, got an investigation involved, and it was just a prank, a dare that goes too far.
Mhm. So where are these kids right now? Are they, is it on their records or?
Well, okay, that what you're talking about is punishment and also keeping records. I'm talking about how do you even go back to that community? And that's when that particular student went to private school because it happened in the public town.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now your town that you live in is no longer a place that you recognize as home. That's tough, right? That's really tough. And then there's another topic about body image.
Hmm.
Um, at fifth and sixth grade, a lot of things are happening to a to girls, right? And then and then they and then there's also talent shows, so there's also voice changes and other things, and self-consciousness about appearance, like I was describing clothing. And so yeah, I mean, I when I was younger, I didn't think that the parochial school uniform had these benefits, right? I was just thinking like, why do they make me wear a uniform? Right? But as you go through in life, you start to reflect and you start to think about, certainly solves a lot of these kind of problems. It made one problem go away, but there are so many other problems in fifth and sixth grade. And then, of course, the big topic of um, big word, big topic, academic dishonesty, cheating, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Did you ever run into cheating?
No, never cheated. But I saw a lot of people cheat.
You
Um,
did? Hmm.
yeah. No, I said
Yeah.
I never did it, but I saw a lot of
You
lot of.
can't say that you did. You're still going to go to college, right? And so,
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
I, yeah, I'm saying that I never did it, but I saw a
Yeah,
lot of
right.
my friends did.
Yeah. No one's going to say that they ever did it, but there's definitely cheating going on. And here's my antidote to the cheating stuff. Is do you believe that the stuff that you learned in school, none of it's unique? In fact, they taught the year before you the same stuff, and the year before you, and before you, and before you, and before you, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Some of this stuff is over 500 years old.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's not going to help us because it hasn't. If it helped us, we're always constantly looking for the number one person who can get none of these answers wrong, but we give them a reward of being number one when they know that this stuff has been tested and retested since their grandparents' time, right?
Exactly. Mhm.
Yeah, so the award has very little value. It's just you're number one amongst your peers, amongst your group. But doesn't mean you're going to invent. Now, remember, I'm an inventor, so you're not going to, your chances of inventing are not determined by your score of getting an award or number one on 500-year-old material. Now, does it help? Yes, it does. That's why you should not be tricked by the awards, but focused on if you're going to be an inventor, then you shouldn't get any of the old stuff wrong. Not because you want to be number one, but because not getting the old stuff wrong is vital to your ability to invent new things. Right? How do you know if it's new if you didn't look at all the old, right? You have to totally understand the old. A very different goal. Setting a different goal is important. But when we're really young, we read stories, bedtime stories and childhood stories about stuff. What kind of stuff? Uh, the turtle and the rabbit. Wasn't there like the horse and then the hare and the tortoise or something like that, where there was a race, right?
Yeah, many stories.
Yeah, right. Things like that, where it's always about a competition. And then the learning lesson was, oh yeah, you thought you were number one, but you went to sleep, and eventually the tortoise makes it. And it's still about competition, even though it was a twist on who the winner was, right? and you learn about that, but it's still a competition. It's still looking for number one, and to stop doing that, right? There wasn't so much pressure around being number one, or even passing, or things like that, or we made it more entertaining, then kids in fifth and sixth grade wouldn't have to find their own entertainment, right? You're bound to not like people. You know that? They're bound to like you just like from afar you don't like someone. You, but it's easy to not like someone when you don't know them. So in fifth and sixth grade, we should have more exercises where we get to know each other so that you'll have second thoughts about hurting someone, driving them out of your town. But it's a dangerous experiment because maybe once you know them more, you might dislike them. Ooh, let me
Yeah.
know more about what you eat for lunch. Oh, that person's weird. Let's get rid of them. So it's a very fine line experiment, because when you do experimentations, you then interactions, you find new things about each other, and sometimes you don't like them. You
I
know,
see.
right? I mean, imagine if your classmates in fifth and sixth grade knew what you had for dinner. What do you have for dinner?
Curry
You have
rice.
what? Curry with rice?
Yeah.
That is that what I just heard?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what curry with rice tastes like to someone who has hamburger at night?
Not good. Uh,
Or curry rice because they have pizza, cold pizza. Their parents are not even at home, so they have cold pizza.
mhm.
Um, they don't know anything about curry with rice, but you might get laughed out, right? You might get pranked. Curry with rice, right? So we don't learn to respect. We have to, before we exchange information, we need to learn how to respect each other. That doesn't mean put some curry with rice into someone else's mouth, but they do that. In fifth and sixth grade, sometimes I recall that some grades have like the Epcot Center experience, except that it's not an Epcot Center surrounding. It's you're not having fun. And even then, not everyone likes Epcot Center. So you're going to now have like International Food Day.
Mhm.
Yeah. Doesn't help unless the mindset is there, unless the hearts are there. So yeah, how can we make it better so that there are fewer pranks, so that you don't have to prank? Doing more activities may not make it better. It depends on how we set up the activities. The experiment's really important, right? The consideration is really important. And just the concept of putting all these people in the room and then be locked up for a whole year, minus summers,
Mhm.
and then repeatedly year after year. Why doesn't that happen? Why doesn't those things, those issues we're afraid of in fifth and sixth grade, happen when we're in first grade and second grade? Yeah, you don't have all these issues.
No, don't.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, everyone who gets to fifth and sixth grade, I mean, we've been together so many years. Most people go to the same school, and somehow someone turns into a gremlin or a group, and then there's always a bully that comes out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's statistically significant enough that every year we see that. So that's what I think, when we're thinking about all these, we've podcasted a lot already, that I think that the the concerns aren't about what I did in my life.
Mhm.
It's what are you doing in yours, right, as a listener, and how are you going to get through some of these things, and what are some of the stories um around academic dishonesty? Like, why do it? Well, because things slip, things happen. School's just not so fun. I mean, I already said it. The material's 500 years old. Who cares? And so, who cares? Well, your report card cares, and your teacher cares, and your parents don't want to be bothered by this. So if you get called back in, now there's a way to it'll bother you, even though you don't think it's need to be bothered. And but that doesn't mean we should be podcasting about medical school or how to like study and study habits. I think we need to get into the mind of how did all these fifth and sixth graders turn into dangerous fifth and sixth graders when they were not so dangerous when they were third graders and second graders and first graders? What happened? right? Is it the hormones? Is it life changes?
I think it might just be, I think it might be just growing up and just realizing what's the world, and then maybe things might not be going right, you know? Because back when you were in first, second grade, everything's going right. What do you have to worry about? Sixth grade, that might change.
I showed my kids, my two daughters, pranking. I wanted to teach them how to, how we prank our teachers
Hmm.
because they haven't experienced that.
Hmm.
And after the TED talk and everything, I my conclusion was the homeschool. So I wanted to show them what pranking a teacher would be like.
Oh, wait, so how
Yeah.
old are your daughters again? Are they in fifth?
Um, well,
Uh,
um, my daughters now are the older one is 9 and the younger one just turned 8 2 days ago.
oh, so like second, third grade.
Yeah. So I wanted to know what they would think of pranking, prank calling and pranking someone, pretending to be sick when you're not. um and then different acts of pranking, right? Putting a sign "kick me" in back of a teacher and all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I every time I would have a opportunity that I run across this, I would show them. And they didn't laugh, or they actually never took on those pranks because mom, my wife, is their homeschooler, homeschool teacher.
Uh-huh.
And they would say, why would someone do that to their mother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Did, did,
don't you believe that a lot? Did you ever have teachers that were women or men?
yeah.
They're definitely not robots, right? So the AI thing isn't relevant yet. Eventually will be, but those men and women are someone's mother or father, or they were definitely were someone's children, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
What did they do so bad that it deserves that you put "kick me" in their back? Why would someone do that to someone else,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we don't like all of our teachers. We have favorites, just like teachers have favorites and students, and we say we don't have favorites, but we do. But they're trying their best, right? They're trying their best. They're in their jobs. Um, Someone told them, why would anyone choose to be a teacher of a fifth and sixth grader? Why
I
would
feel
they?
like they get they get satisfaction that they are influencing the younger generation.
A lot of people interview me because they think I have an exciting life, right? You interview me because you think, you read about things I send you, and it is exciting, right? But the biggest learning lesson for me was being a teacher in 2017 so that
Hmm.
I wouldn't be this arrogant fool thinking that sending my kids meant that all of my problems would be taken care of. Right? The problems come from within. The teachers are people who dedicated their lives to helping help the cause. That doesn't mean they have the solution, right? They're there trying to, tasked with taking 500-year-old information and tend to make it interesting. Yeah, it's not easy. And the students that are locked in there are tasked with trying to make this information useful and they have no idea. In fact, a lot of people graduate from colleges throughout history who don't use what they studied or their degrees. It's all over the news. It's nothing new. Just wasn't talked about as much then because in the news, people would pay for their newspapers. Now, the newspapers don't exist largely and they have to get your attention. So they now have to highlight the problem. And then you get shock therapy, looking at, oh my goodness, this is happening. It's always been happening.
Correct.
Yeah. It's hard to take 500-year-old information and make it interesting when when the whole premise of why it's interesting is, look, we're going to see who can know all the presidents and their wives. Who are the wives of each of the U.S. presidents? That would be a hard test question, right? I wouldn't do well on that one. I'm just saying that there's always information that you can test on, but to separate and score people based on how well they test on creates a very toxic environment. Versus, hey, Dirash, we need to know this information because we need to invent new things. Because every year we could have a chance of a hurricane getting stronger and stronger. Yeah.
That would make me much more wanting to learn.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned hurricane now because my every phone of mine was beeping like crazy on yellow alert that New Jersey was going through a flood alert today. Yeah.
Mm.
Because we had a hurricane nearby. Right? And in this particular hurricane, I went down to my basement and I saw what this weekend Ernesto would do. Ernesto is the name of the hurricane. And the rip current was so great that maybe like 4 feet high, 3 feet high in my basement, it was spewing water like a spigot was open, bursting at its seams, right? Where you'd have water shooting out. And what category was this? This was a very low category, but it just was near New Jersey. So it makes you really think about like how do you fix that? Or how often will that problem keep recurring? Yeah.
Mhm.
And that makes you think about, all right, well, you've got graphene at your disposal, but does everyone? Right. And then also, I wish, that more people would learn because you can't just rely on yourself. This is not a self-enclosed system. You rely on others, and so you want kids to learn more advanced things. I don't know if you know this, but there's something called vocational school. Do you know that?
Yeah, it's school that you only go just to learn a specific skill.
Yeah. Did you know like anybody who went there?
No, no. But I know some people going there for college, trade
Okay.
school.
So there's college, trade school, but there's also like earlier versions of it too, right?
Uh-huh. I see.
Yeah. But do you think these people go there because they really wanted to go there from the very beginning when they were in fifth and sixth grade?
No, no.
No. But isn't that okay, so what kind of trades are taught in vocational school?
Um, plumbing, uh,
Plumbing. Good.
handiwork,
Yeah.
uh,
Right. Right. So I'm looking at okay, so these are like really important things for like your plumber but and your carpenter, right? These are all really important vocations, right?
yeah,
Because if you need like welding, so electrician, right? We can just name more of them, and these vocational schools, uh, uh, I'm just gonna list out some job types, right? And from carpentry to plumbing to electrician. So if your house has any problems and and you need these skilled individuals, you want people who are passionate about it, right? And you're always asking me, like on these earlier podcasts, like medical school, how did you do it? How did you get there? So when you want to see a doctor, you hope that they are like really passionate when they're in fifth and sixth grade, right? But this is a fifth and sixth grade show. So are you passionate about becoming a plumber or a carpenter? I mean, shouldn't you be passionate about anything you do?
should.
Yeah, and the earlier the better. That's what created Mozart, right? Yeah. And so if you if you think about are we passionate when we set these things up, um, you find out that they're not passionate. How do you get to vocational school? One of the requirements or results is that oftentimes you didn't do well in regular school. Is that correct?
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you know about it. I know about it. There's no secret, right? So we're constantly getting these people going into vocations and they're not passionate about it. So they've been rejected, right?
Hmm.
Um and then here uh vocation definition. There's several, but we're going to just pick the relevant one. A trade or profession. That's the meaning of vocation. So these are professionals. You hope that they professionally are passionate about their profession, right? Right.
Yeah.
So there could be health professions. There could be, right? I mean, I don't know if hygienist is. I'm just thinking, what does a hygienist do, you think?
I think it's for cleaning.
Yeah, dental hygienist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dental hygienist is a curriculum, is a challenging hands-on approach that involves a variety of educational experience and environments. Um, and then you can be a dental hygienist by completing associates in dental hygiene for 2 to 3 years. But those are the people who clean your teeth.
Hmm.
And so if you're people cleaning your teeth are not passionate about teeth, could you imagine how that cleaning would go?
Not good.
Right. So if you go like you go to a dentist and I want a passionate hygienist. Well, of course, all of my hygienists are passionate, right? The dentist who owns the practice would say all of their hygienists are passionate. And you go somewhere else and they all say the same thing because no one is not passionate. But then was that your was that your first love? Was that what you did? Or you didn't do well and that's why you went the other places. So then let's take the students who do well, the fifth and sixth graders who do well and do well and do well and do well. Did they know that they were going to do those things when they're in fifth and sixth grade?
No,
No,
no.
yeah, yeah. So nobody knows anything about developing the passion, doing those things, but they do know one thing is there's going to be a bully and when the year starts and I better figure out my teacher and who am I sitting next to and what am I wearing for tomorrow? And those are the things and these magic potions. Will I need to drink the magic potion? That's what I think that the podcast tonight's really about criticizing what we've been doing so far.
Yeah.
And although talking about Harvard and graphene and also career and all that, or even finance, right? Why do we even need money? Every fifth and sixth grader has all their things paid for by their parents. It's
Yeah.
just eventually it stops, right? So
Well, I also think that how you
yeah.
say it, like, in terms of all these things that 56 years go through, I think it sets the base for the future, right? Like the ideas, because when you're fifth and sixth grade, your brain is the most malleable, right? That's why,
Would you drink a magic potion? Let me ask you. Would you?
no, no.
No? All right,
Oh,
let me change the context. I'm going to give you $1 million to drink the magic potion.
oh, magic potion as in it's as in it's not like drugs or
That's what a magic potion is. It has magic in it.
oh
So,
yes.
yeah, so if you drink it, it might be magical for you. And there's all kinds of magic. There's black magic, good magic, bad magic. So you drink the magic potion, we'll give you $1 million.
Hmm.
Yeah. You drinking it?
Yeah, I would drink it if it's good
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah, no, no, you don't get to choose which magic. We're gonna choose the magic for you, right? So it could be a prank. Could be
No,
like that knife in your pocket. It could wipe you out. You could be turned into a frog forever. Your brain could be turned into a frog's brain forever. But you get $1 million. So would you do it?
no.
Okay. You get to counter. How many millions would you need to drink this magic potion that turns your brain in potentially turns your brain into a frog's brain?
No number of millions.
No number of millions.
Yeah.
Now let's make it interesting. In the 80s, people smoked magic potions. They're in the form of cigarettes. And if someone gave you $5 million and you had to smoke 4 packs a day, you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you know what would happen if you didn't, they wouldn't call you back onto the set in the future
Hmm.
because the movies were sponsored by alcohol and cigarettes. So what
Exactly.
do, right? So what do? You if you had if you did it, it's nothing wrong with you. In fact, it's not everything right with you. You need food and substance. We all do. Our parents are no longer paying for us at this age. Yours is still, right? You're at the cusp. But how many kids after 18 are expected to leave the house?
Many, many,
Does that topic come across with you and your parents?
many times. Yeah.
Really? Isn't that
Yeah.
scary? That's like so scary for a fifth and sixth grade. Although no one, they have all this time because from 12 to, 17, there's 5 years. 18, there's 6 years. So
And
you got
that's
time.
time for them to make mistakes, learn a skill.
Yeah. Don't think about how you sustain yourself. Then just where you got, because if you get eliminated within your fifth year or sixth year, um, uh, getting it. And then there's also, we didn't talk about, there's also, other than body image, there's also like boundaries of sexual pressure.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That all happens somehow not in fourth grade or third grade or second grade, first
No.
grade,
First.
kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but there's no way to prevent this stuff when you're going through it. So these are the topics I think would make a very interesting twist to get back on track with the fifth and sixth graders. I think I enjoy answering all those questions about medical school and all that, but I encourage us to go back into the mindset of a fifth and sixth grader so that we can speak that talk that talk of how crazy we're setting up all these terrible situations and ecosystems for the future. It's almost like if we had a show for 1 year olds and 2 year olds, and we start asking the question is why do we play nursery rhymes and kids music that says London Bridge is falling down? Is that enjoyable to you to talk about the London Bridge is falling down and then all these people will be dying? Not a
No.
good thing, right? But people say London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down, right? So, uh, do you remember that one?
No, I never heard that.
Oh, okay. So you're saved from that. But
Yeah.
London Bridge is falling down. That lyrics, um, uh, here, I'll read it to you. I'll sing it to you. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. So right? So you're gonna sing that, and it has kind of like a jingle to it, like supposedly happy. But think about what the lyrics say. The bridge is falling down,
You know?
falling down, falling down. The bridge is falling down, my fair lady. So it's not from recent times, but they used to do things like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, toxic.
Very toxic.
Yeah, right. So and then parents unknowingly, when you're a parent, you buy what other parents are buying. So we're all just following each other. So now that we're in fifth and sixth grade, now we're going to ask the question, what do fifth and sixth graders worry about the most? Not medical school, not finance, not their path, when they should. They really should be thinking about their path, but they're not. They should be thinking about, do you know your parents are just like all other parents? And in about 6 years, they're going to say to you, hey, it's time that you leave the house,
Yeah.
right? Your parents will make, I mean, why would they say something like that? They're the same people who bought London Bridges falling down.
It shocks my mind, right? Like, why are they asking me to leave all of a sudden, right?
Do you know if I leave, you're going to be alone? So, it's like if you leave, your parents are going to be alone.
Yeah, and then they expect us to take care of them when they get old. So
What happens if you fall while I'm not at home? Do you know that as you get older, especially if you have diabetes, your chance of falling over 65, here's a statistic. If you're over 65 years old and you have diabetes, your chance of falling is 17 times higher than someone who doesn't.
Yeah, and you break your leg, you can't even get up.
Yeah, but what if you fall on your head? Now you get something like a frog's brain. Okay, so see, the risk is very high, and your house probably has stairs, or hard surfaces. You could fall inside the tub or in the bathroom and knock your head, just because there's some soap underneath your feet. So in the shower or something. So there are so many situations, but why do we do it? Because it's culturally the norm. So when we take a look at fifth and sixth graders, didn't have much time when you go back 8 years and they were listening to London Bridge and other songs like that, and then or Mary Had a Little Lamb, you name it. There's so many topics around that, and then you take a sixth grade and add another 8 years, and now 12 plus 8 is 20. Hmm, that's
Mm.
tough. That's very tough because when you go in 7 and 8 year segments, you really see that we haven't really brought up the topics. What do you go through every day? And school is a lot more impacting, especially those topics we were talking about, because your peers and what they do to you matters a lot. It actually will matter whether or not you go to vocational school or high school, or stay in high school, what college you go to, and everybody turns and starts looking at it as a topic. That's when you don't want to be caught up at that point. You don't want to be catching up or behind. You want to know that topic's coming up. If it, to most individuals, by the time you add 8 years, if you're listening and you're 11 to 12 and you add 8 years, your parents would have said to you, you need to be out of the house. Their friends would have said this to them, that when are they leaving the house? What kind of job do they have? The jobs people have is not going to give you a good house. It's going to give you potentially an ability to rent an apartment, but not a good house. So now for the next 10 years, you may be living in a place that is one fraction of the quality that you grew up when you were listening to London Bridges falling down. Why do
Mm.
we do that to each other? Because that's the definition of success,
Yeah,
right?
go
You are
on.
successful when you're able to leave your house. You're unsuccessful if you live with your parents.
Correct.
So when you're in fifth and sixth grade, you're unsuccessful because you're living with your parents. No, they don't combine that together because that's not normal, right? That's that would be weird. So there are weird things will turn into good, even though they were weird before, and good things will become weird.
Mm.
You and I are very weird to talk about fifth and sixth graders. We're not fifth and sixth graders. Why are we doing a show for fifth and sixth graders? That point in time is one of the most important points in time. If you can fix that, you can fix so many things in life. Yeah. That's why I do it. I don't have fifth and sixth graders yet, but I do it. Change the ecosystem so that, and I didn't even know that my daughters would say this, is why would anyone prank their mother? Why would anyone prank someone else's mother or father, for that matter? Why would you prank someone who's teaching you, but they used to be your age? They used to be a fifth and sixth grader. Why would you do that? Yeah.
Exactly.
But we don't think of it that way. We just think of ourselves. It's a really hard time. Let's have some fun. Right. And that's what gets you in trouble. Right. And the movies promote it and other things promote it, but the movies, they were paying people $1 million and more than that, $5 million to have packs of magic potion that you smoke, right? You have to smoke several packs a day to be in there, and that was the name of the game at the time. And they even said, yeah, there's a Surgeon General's warning that you may get cancer, but may, not everyone gets it. So we continue to smoke. People, in fact, in 2024 are still smoking, and now they're also vaping.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't put anything in your lungs that's not oxygen, other than air. I mean, that contains more nitrogen than oxygen. But not let's not get too technical and geeky about it. But the point is that if you put stuff in your lungs, um, and and that's not normal stuff, and other animals don't do it. We're on the animal kingdom, right? Even though we're in the highest pecking order of the animal kingdom, we do some really weird things to ourselves. Yeah. Other animals don't eliminate each other in their version of a fifth and sixth grade so much as we do. For humans, we created a system called school, and it's not very good for helping someone find their spouse, and it's not very good for you going through fifth and sixth grade. And we even laugh at our teachers. What have we created? Yeah. But I pay for school. Even though my kids don't go to public school, I pay for it with public taxes. So you have to then reach in your pocket and pay more if you want private, and even more if you want to do homeschool differently. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this really kind of sets the tone for the future of of the episodes on this show, and that we should be focusing more on topics that actually affect fifth and sixth graders.
Because I fundamentally believe that you can do anything if you have the right ecosystem. Anybody can be a genius. Any flower can bloom in the middle of winter if you have the right ecosystem around it. Make sure the roots aren't rotting. Make sure, they have enough airflow. Make sure it's warm enough for that particular plant. And then make sure when it does flower, if it's also a fruiting plant, then you should pollinate it physically, support it, right? So the support structure and the infrastructure is really important. Make it compete, and now you start eliminating things. So for homeschooling, my daughters will learn Chinese, but their Chinese may not be as good as someone who's in China, but better than those who are here who don't get to learn Chinese with Chinese culture. English, same thing, right? Just vice versa. But then they might find something that neither side would be able to do because they're able to do it together. It's not about competition, even though they do compete against each other. Competition isn't terrible. It's just mismanaged competition and allowing all those things that happen. Fifth and sixth grade will go by really fast. It will go by really fast. And then it'll be seventh and eighth grade and eighth and ninth grade. And soon, in 2 more years, then you'll be a senior in high school. And then you'll be asked to leave the house. So it goes by really, really fast. We need to slow it down.
How do we slow it down?
Love, only love can help. I love my kids so much so that I feel I need to be responsible to letting them know that they can slow it down just from willing it. All they have to do is want to.
You want your kids to go to college?
I don't want my kids to work unhappily for someone. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean they should work for just for themselves. I want them to discover what is their purpose in life. Why are they here? And I'm willing to give them all the resources that I don't have yet to pay for that answer. Why are you here on this earth?
Mhm.
So if it costs me the rest of my life to help them get that answer, I want to help them with an answer. I brought them here, but they also chose me as their dad. So it's a mutual situation. How can I do that for you? No, I don't want to, I'm not here to spoil you. I'm here to accompany you. You're not alone.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah. I think that's really a good tone even for the fifth and sixth graders that are listening right now to find out what they want to do. because the next 6 years they have it that they're paid for, supported for. To really take time these 6 years to find out, work hard. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these whoever's going to be listening to these things, they're gonna. It's I look at it as somehow it's a meeting of the minds, almost like a comet shooting past the planet, and somehow we're together on this topic. I mean, you could build the strongest walls for hurricanes with the most advanced materials for hurricanes, and then continue to find out that the hurricanes keep getting stronger and stronger. So you have to keep using stronger and stronger materials. I mentioned hurricanes because of Ernesto today. Um, but where did the hurricanes come from? And why are they getting stronger from those places of origin? How about we go there and help those people not generate these stronger hurricanes? And maybe we don't have to keep making stronger materials, because making stronger materials is a guess, right? It's a guess on can I be more defensive, but I'm never solving the root cause. And
Hmm.
maybe the root cause is blindly buying children's songs, blindly sending our kids to school, fifth and sixth graders having so much to be concerned about, but nowhere to really talk about this or listen to this. And so thus begins our podcast series, right? We don't want to be Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put him back together again.
No.
That's really great. Oh, wow. You know, that's what I learned growing up reading these things. What is that supposed to do to my mind? Maybe the bullying occurs from the lack of attention onto these nursery rhymes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. You didn't listen to these growing up? You're
Mm,
blessed.
no, I didn't.
Yeah. Hmm. All right. So that's
Yeah, I
it.
think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to hit the stop button now.